Break it down. Give me 5 people you're ready to fight right now.
Timothy Bradley, Paul, Floyd Mayweather, Devin Alexander, and whoever the fans want to see.
Listen, I told you give them something visual, so you went ahead and made your own YouTube-based TV show. It's an array of IPAs and fighters on the road. Got a question? Put them in your comment section right below. Barbershop talk while you're sitting in your living room. Pacquiao, Mayweather, and we can't forget the brews. Coming to you live with the scoops like a ladle. Allow me to introduce the boxing round table.
Things that are like negotiation difficulties, like for instance, ring size and stuff like that. It should all be standardized. Like, you know, the ring's going to be 22 feet, so you can't make an excuse in negotiations like, you know, I want a smaller ring, I want a bigger ring. No. Like, that shit is going to be 22 feet. Just deal with it. Either take the fight or don't take the fight. And then also glove sizes. Like, you know, if you're in a certain weight class, you know, the gloves are going to be a certain size. You know, then there's no negotiations with the, you know, like, oh, I'm in 154, so should I use 10 ounce or 8 ounce? It's going to be like, okay, you're in 154, it's 8 ounce, period, done. So I thought that would be a good idea, too. I'll pass it off to Boxologist.
One thing I was thinking about when I mentioned, like, more documentative type, from a documentative type avenue, I think, you know, because the UFC still a lot of blueprint from boxing, I think I would kind of steer one back. I would say, you know, and I would have like a pitch, like, especially for a person, you know, that's a good boxer. I'm going to use Floyd Mayweather as an example, like trying to build his own promotion company. I think there's a lot of different weight classes that hasn't been tackled, you know what I'm saying, that's kind of really unknown to the casual fans, like, you know, like the smaller weight classes, like the cruiserweight. And I think it'd be I think it'd be kind of genius if he were to, you know, or any boxing promoter for that matter, like to find a, you know, like go out and find like the best, you know what I'm saying, you know, cruiserweights you can find or something like that. And just kind of like how they did the tournament, that they doing the tournament on ESPN, but instead like that kind of be like how the Ultimate Fighter, you know what I'm saying, they can change the name, call it like Break a Fighter or something like that, you know what I'm saying? And basically they could, you know, be in a house or whatever, you know, and they be boxing each other, and then the person that wins will fight on the undercard or be like a co-main event for a big boxing pay-per-view event, you know what I mean? So that way, you know, by the time the show's over and stuff, this fight, you know what I'm saying, the fight will be scheduled, and a lot of people already know who both of those guys is. You know what I'm saying? They already, you know, have a kind of a personal, you know what I'm saying, like, information relationship with the person by, like, knowing who they are based off the show. And they could have been a complete nobody before they got on the show, only fighting in their hometown. I think doing stuff like that would get a lot of boxers noticed too, you know what I'm saying? Because I think that's how the UFC is, you know, and putting a lot of people out on, you know what I'm saying, with them. A lot of people trying to go to the Ultimate Fighter. And I think if boxing can find a clever way to get boxers and to build them up off of TV shows and competing in tournaments and stuff off of TV shows and put them on major undercards like a Mayweather undercard or something like that, I think that would be good for boxing. And then that would somehow transition the next future into, you know what I'm saying, into boxing. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of guys that came straight from the UFC that's the major players in the UFC right now. You know what I'm saying? They came off of a show like Rashad Evans or something. You know what I mean? Like, for example. But I think if boxing takes that approach, you know what I'm saying, and they can do it. They don't have to necessarily do it like that, but have some kind of tournament to where they actually, you're getting to know these people, you know what I'm saying, you see them interact, you know what I'm saying, there'd be some bad blood between, you know, certain people getting into it on the show, and that could make for future fights as well, especially if they never got the fight on the show. You feel what I'm saying? I'll pass to Rollo. Go ahead, bro. Rollo.
You said Rollo? Oh shit, my bad.
Yeah.
My bad. Alright, I think, shit, man. I mean, this whole concept and idea is brilliant. But see, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna take it in a different angle. How about this? How do y'all feel about the promoters? How would the promoters be? Do you think the promoters would be boxed out of this situation? You know what I'm saying? Like, because when the NFL doesn't need to promote the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? The Super Bowl is a matter of fact. Do you know? I just read somewhere that they're literally trying to make the Super Bowl a fucking holiday. They're literally trying to make the Super Bowl a holiday. So, what I mean by that, well, with that being said, it's like when we create an event that's so big and so self-promoted that we lose promoters? You know what I'm saying? Do we see promoters completely dying out of the sport? So I want to pass the rock to everybody. So I'm gonna start with you, Zone.
Well, to prevent that, the promoters are going to have this part, and then this is what I feel that should happen in the sport of boxing. I believe I said this before, that boxing should be introduced into high schools. I think it should be a sport as well too, with headgear and amateur, and you fight the people from your different high schools. And if you want to go outside of that, cool. I think it should be introduced. That way these kids are groomed going up, and then we have a high school boxing program across the whole entire nation. You know what I'm saying? And plus the amateur and the Golden Gloves and the Olympics, what is going to happen is the promoters are going to be able to get down into scouting new talent versus worried about selling us dreams. Because with this format, whoever's in your stable, it's going to generate. So what you're doing now is you're trying to get your boxer and your boxers on as many pay-per-views as possible. You see what I'm saying? Because the more you get your fighters, if you got the better fighters, your better fighters is going to always be on pay-per-view. So for instance, if Bradley and Marquez and Provodnikov are ultimately better fighters than anybody in Golden Boy, then Bradley and Provodnikov will get the pay-per-view slot. And if they take all three of the slots, that ain't got nothing to do with the system. Golden Boy just gonna be restricted to putting their people on January and February and HBO, and they gonna do it that way. Yeah. And the promoter still gets their percentage. But the promoters would be more inclined to go down and look at the Olympics and get prospects and draft them. And I think boxing needs a draft. I think because now when you playing, if you were a high school boxer or you on an amateur level or you the Golden Gloves level, and you like, man, I can probably be drafted. Now it's a little different. Now it makes it authentic. And everybody that's getting drafted, usually like, shit, who, Top Rank, Golden Boy, Lou DiBella, all should be at the draft, and they should draft their boxers, just like the NFL, and they should all get picks. And if you get drafted, your contract will already have a certain incentive in it based on your draft pick or whatever the company is willing to negotiate and give you. And if you don't want to and you opt out and you feel, hey, Golden Boy, Top Rank, if they offer you better deals, then you can be drafted by that company. You see what I'm saying? So as the event happens, you're trying to pull as many draft picks as possible. You know what I'm saying? If you can. If not, then your stable will just die because your stable, you're allowing people to, not really fight and not do what they got to do. You need to draft better boxers. So the promoter would be down on the ground and involved in the boxing scene more so than just sitting back, just kicking it. And I'm going to pass the rock to JD.
The thing that I love that Zone said earlier, which will bring more developed athletes back to the sport and not really go to UFC or the NFL, is this. At least with that $25 million each, that's better than a guaranteed contract. I mean, a non-guaranteed contract with the NFL. That's like an NBA and baseball contract. So I mean, they don't pay nobody in UFC like that. Not at all. So if a boxer busts his ass, does what he's supposed to, be a popular knockout artist, and he get guaranteed $25 million, that's almost back in the day Mike Tyson money. That's evolving the sports, not just financially, but that's improving their lifestyle, and that's going to get other motherfuckers wanting to start boxing gyms all over again and stuff, and develop more fighters. And that drafting system that Zone 6 is very key too, because then that'll have other people know who's the next talent coming, who are the best prospects. That's going to make them want to do YouTube videos on high school athletes and shit, stuff that never been surrounded on social media such as Facebook and stuff. They always do this with football and basketball athletes, but they don't do it for boxers and stuff. You got to find some hardcore boxing fans who don't have a life to showcase you that stuff. So the whole point is, if you get set up this financial system like Zone 6 said, the drafting system like Zone 6 said, I mean, that promotional bullshit won't matter, because they the best boxer win. If he beat the best competition, then he needs to be on that fucking slot. Plain and simple. And it also got to be about your performance too. Ain't nobody trying to see a snooze or a stinker. I'm just gonna be honest. And I know that kind of contradicts when we say people like breaking down and others, but no, you gotta give them a reason to want to pay for that. So if it's one of the mid cards or whatever, okay, you can stomach that. That's a bathroom break fight or something. But the whole point, is it economically benefits. It'll motivate young black athletes and other athletes from other ethnicities from different countries to want to develop their fighters. So when it's their time to shine, their lives prosper from the sport. And then we could set up a boxing union with this type of financial gains. And I'm going to give it to Haplo. I mean, not Haplotype, but Aztec. Yeah.
No, it's Haplo.
Oh. Sorry.
I keep getting confused with this guy, man.
Hey, everybody, because y'all are so cool, man.
I think another thing that would help would be, because we have so much confusion with the ranking system, that if the sanctioning bodies would rank the other champions in an order where they think they fall. Like, obviously, they have to put their champion as like the champion, but then underneath the champion, they have to rank all the other champions from the other sanctioning bodies. And then you get a better idea and a more standardized list. Now, the list still won't be exactly the same, but at least you have some of the same names on every list. And that'll create tension to where, they're going to want to fight the guy who's ranked ahead of them more than now, where you have a ranking system with one sanctioning body that doesn't even rank a certain guy. But anyway, that's just my idea for that. But I'll pass it off to Zone 6.
Fine. I think that sounds good too. I think they do need to go ahead and rank the champions. And I got a question. Since I got it back, I'm gonna send it back out to you guys. What about the belts? Should we go ahead, since we have a format now, would the belts be still good to have more than one to kind of bring prestige to all the matches, or should we consolidate it down to one using a system? And I'm going to pass the rock to Boxing Talk.
Okay, I got a couple of things I want to talk about. Since we all agree boxing is like more of a worldwide sport than any sport, probably, right?
Yeah.
Because, boxing, so I think when we have the pay-per-views, we should have them on different continents. Not all of them in America. One in America, like different continents, so we can make sure that everyone is having the experience of the pay-per-view experience. That's one. Two, I think we should have a boxing council. Get rid of the promoters. I don't think we need promoters. I think we need like maybe about 5 or 6 people on the panel Some people dealing with rankings. Some people dealing with the financial part. Some people dealing with, all other things that's got to be dealt with as fighters are concerned. And another thing, we all agree boxers train when they're about to train for a fight. They're training for a fight on the notion that another fighter will show up to the fight, and they're not just training just to be training and not, not getting paid because another fighter want to either duck out the fight or get injured in training. So I have a system to where a fighter punches in like he's working. When he trains, he punches in and he's getting paid for training. I don't know if that's a good idea, but I think that's a good idea for some of the lower tier boxers that really, it's not going to make a lot of money. At least they're guaranteed to make some money.
That's good.
I mean, and they need to have a retirement plan for boxers too. So I don't know how we'll
have a boxing union.
Yeah. A boxing union, to help fighters when they retire, stuff like that. Because I think it should be boxing is one of the sports that has to thrive on the individuals that are in the sports. You should be looking out for the next generation of fighters. So I think you should give some of your money to the union to help future endeavors as far as boxing goes. To help the sport out.
I agree.
Give back to something that, helped you out. Instead of just
there won't be no more Ali situation.
Yeah, so instead of sucking all the money out the sport and putting nothing back in. But I pass the rock to Rallo.
Wait. Zone, what was your question again? I know that you had a question. What was your question again?
It's okay. I asked, we did take this opportunity to consolidate all the titles.
Right.
Because I'm piggybacking off what Hot said. He said he wanted the champion, right?
Yeah. I remember now. Okay, I remember now.
I'll go after Rilo on this one.
Now, I think that if a system was to be set up the way that we're talking about a system being set up, I think that all those titles would become irrelevant because nobody will be thinking about being a champion. They're going to be thinking about being on this card. And if you be on this card, it goes back to what we was talking about way back in the day. It's the glory. You get the glory of being the dude who won on this card. And that glory is going to transfer or carry over to the next card. So I think that the belts would eventually die away. You know what I'm saying? They ain't going to go away immediately. But I think that over time, if this system was set into place, it would die away eventually. Bloodfist.
This is what they need to do with the belts, but I agree with what Rilo just said, get the glory and get paid. But the other part of it is, like in wrestling, this is the main title, this is the mid-card title, this is a nobody gives a fuck title, and this is a title just to fill up some airtime or whatever. If you could make people follow that and know which title is the real shit and which title is not the real shit, these fighters are not going to really give a fuck about fighting for these sanctioned body titles and just go for the main shit and fight one another for it. And for that to happen, you got to promote where this is the prestige right here. This is the best. I'm the John Cena of my division. Everybody else could kick rocks. Everybody else is just a piece of shit, and their titles don't mean shit. They just got some internet fans. They ain't got no real fans like I do. So the whole fucking point is, people know who the real champion is, and that champion takes on all comers. So if you can have a system like that, where people know this is the real title and everything else just mid-card to nothing, that's where boxing could really, really get better following and more people interest. But it has to take that type of structure for the bullshit to stop with the sanctioned bodies trying to profit every fucking dollar and try to get money off of certain fighters and tax other fighters out so they can vacate their title and get their main guy that they backhandlers got money on to invest to make them the new star. So that bullshit can go away too. And that's how you got to do it. And I want to give it to boxologists.
All right, man. All right, I've been waiting for this one. Basically, man, what I feel like is first thing, man. I think there needs to be one. I think it needs to be one mass governing body. Number one, you know what I'm saying? Even if you just do it for your country, it should be one mass governing body for the United States. I mean, I'm just gonna think, bro. I'm just gonna use the United States as an example. There should be one mass governing body, and I think they should. The only ranking that should matter is what that governing body says, and I think that governing body should, like all the major sanctioning bodies, you know what I'm saying, with the WBO, WA, WBC, IBF, all of them should have the same exact ranking, and they should have the legitimized ranking based off the major governing body. The major governing body should base their ranking upon, you know what I'm saying, by numbers, you know what I'm saying, achievements and et cetera. You know what I'm saying, who beat who, how many, you know what I'm saying, wins you didn't have with who's ranked where, you know what I mean? They should put all that in perspective, you know what I mean? And I think once they do that, as long as the guys can pay the sanctioning bodies for the, you know what I'm saying, for the belts, it should be no reason for sanctioning body to have a problem with another person. You know what I'm saying? With them, the sanctioning body shouldn't have a problem giving a title to somebody else who's holding a title with another sanctioning body, as long as they paying the sanctioning fees. Because I mean, that's what it's all about anyway. You know what I'm saying? And so I think once that happens, I think that'll weed out, you know, all this confusion about who's the real champion and who's not the real champion. Another thing I think needs to happen is you should cut out. They need to cut out all. It's too many middlemen in boxing. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to a person's team, you know, everybody say, "Oh, this is my team. That's my team." It's too many middlemen. These teams that they talking about. I mean, I don't see why you need an advisor, promoter, and a manager. I mean, all those guys can be one and the same. Why can't your advisor manage you? Why can't your, you know what I'm saying, manager promote you? You know what I mean? So I think you paying 3 people for a job that can really be done by one person. You know what I mean? It's just like if I'm a truck driver, but I'm the truck driver and this dude's the unloader. I can drive the truck and unload it. You know what I mean? But instead, it's like people got multiple advisors, they got multiple managers, and they got a promoter, then they got a co-promoter. It's like, it's too much of that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of boxers should simplify it and just have one and all the same. You know what I mean? Because it's not hard. Like, people have shown that they can do it themselves. They can promote themselves. They can negotiate themselves. You know what I mean? And I think once that happens, like, to a certain extent, Mayweather is promoted by Golden Boy, but at the same time, he kind of promoted himself. You know what I mean? Even, you know, like Adrian Bronner, he kind of promoted himself. You know what I'm saying? The promotion company just took what he did and ran with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, because at the end of the day, why would you need somebody to advise you to make a fight when ultimately it's going to come down to your decision of what you think is best anyway? You know what I mean? Have somebody that you trust to manage your career to where it can maximize you the most profit and give you the best fights for your legacy, and just stick to that. You know what I mean? Because their decision is going to come back down to what you think. You know what I mean? I think you should have some kind of agent or something. You know what I'm saying? As far as like a, you know, a manager, advisor, and all these extra middlemen. I think they need to just cut out the middleman, and boxing will flourish a little bit better than it does right now. Let's see, like went shit. Boxing talk. Yeah. Boxing talk.
You know, I think we should get rid of the belts altogether, man. I don't think we really need the belts with the format, because I think the format is trying to keep everyone honest, and, you know what I'm saying, guys with the belts that don't want to fight each other. I think the whole system that we're creating kind of, you know what I'm saying, devours the belts anyway. So I don't think we need the belts. I think like if you say for instance, I think you should probably get a trophy if you win on one of the pay-per-views. You know what I'm saying? You get a trophy. Some people get a knockout of the night. You know what I'm saying? The best pure boxing performance, stuff like that. You know, have stuff like that, but not the belts. I pass it on to Zone 6.
All right. Now this is something that I like. This is what I like the belts. I just think that the belts have actually been abused. And the reason I like the belts is because it do give you a sense of accomplishment. One belt for all these boxers, that should be hell. Okay? The only problem I have with the belts is that people are not making an attempt to unify them. Okay? Under this system, most likely they will be unified. Now check this out. This is what I think. I think we should keep all four of the sanctioning bodies. But guess what? They're on the hook to do. They're on hook to promote the fight as well. They're on the hook from now on to promote these pay-per-views. They can't be off the hook because part of that 25%, let's say for instance, part of the money that they raise, they should get a percentage off the top, and they should give it to all the sanctioning bodies. So for instance, I'm gonna give you another example. Let's say they raise 100. Let's say we raise 100 million. I'm gonna go with 100 million to keep it simple math. Remember how I told you guys we was giving every boxer 25 million apiece? They bring in 25%. Well, hell, let's say we take another 10% off 100 million. Let's say we take 10 million. That's the 10% from the money that's raised. So all the sanctioned bodies should split that up. You know what I'm saying? They shouldn't be getting a whole bunch of money. They should get if they got 10 million, then they should be split it up, you know, different ways, like that, you know, period. There shouldn't be this much money that they're giving and all that kind of stuff like that. And they should also participate and help raising the 100 million to 200 million so they can get it 10%, so they can want their 10% to be bigger. Cool. Right. I like the WBO, the WBA, the WBC. I think you should keep those because it brings a championship value to every person. Because you don't want just one champion because it actually has no... You can identify how important this guy is, like having something shiny around his waist. See, it's only confusing now because these dudes with things shiny around their waist not fighting other guys with things shiny around their waist. You see what I'm saying? So if you see two guys with something shiny around their waist and both of them got something to lose, you give them the fans, the counter fans, the illusion that both of these motherfuckers are important. They both important. So man, it's two niggas with shiny things around their waist. Man, somebody's gonna lose their shiny thing like a fish. Now, to me, the Ring magazine, I think that belt should not be nothing that's included in it. I think that should be reserved to the pound for pound guys. Remember how I said the continent that you got, the continent that we rotate on, they should all have a panel of boxers. And I ask you guys how many people should be on a panel, because the reason everybody should get a certain amount of people, like a Senate or like a House of Representatives. And we may even have to do it like the House of Representatives based on population. Okay, so each continent, excluding Antarctica, should have a panel of boxing officials, which can consist of a certain amount of people from the WBO, WBA, WBC, IBO, and the Ring magazine. Okay, the Ring magazine should be reserved at the end of the year for whoever is the pound for pound, and that's how I think we should get our pound for pound list. Like it should be like pound for pound number one is Floyd Mayweather. So if Floyd Mayweather is the pound for pound Ring number one guy, he should get that Ring magazine belt, okay? And if you want to get a guy, and the guy who's number one in that division, then you could do that as well too. But I think the Ring magazine should be only restricted to the best boxer in boxing, not the guy who's in the... Oh, we don't need all that. We just... One person should have one Ring magazine belt, and right now, that should be Floyd Mayweather. It shouldn't be several or 11 other people with that belt. Now, with the IBO, I like the IBO. What the IBO should be is to establish a strong and legitimate number one contender. I think it should be no WBA interim, nothing. I think the IBO since it's the youngest one and it's on the rise, I think it should be the only belt that's recognized as the number one contender. So when you see a guy with the IBO belt, you know he's the number one contender for one of the sanctioning bodies, and he's in line to fight for one of the belts against one of the other guys. And once he gets that belt, then he obviously it moves down to whoever else is next. If it's the number 2 guy, then that gives him options to say, hey, yeah, I may not have been on this pay-per-view, but what I probably need to do is I probably need to fight this number 2 guy that this is behind me so that I can have a good fight with him so I can get on a pay-per-view card against one of the other title holders. You know what I'm saying? It puts that kind of pressure and gives them kind of some kind of incentive. I'm passing the rock to Rollo Jenkins.
God damn you, quiet. I. You know what? I'm gonna pass.
If you ain't big, ready, you pass it to somebody else.
No. Right. I'm gonna pass it to Boxologist right now. All right, I'm gonna pass it to High Blow Type. 0. High Blow Type.
Yeah. Yo, I agree with Zach. I like the belt. I like the best trophy because of the history of the fact that in boxing there's all belts and not trophies. And I won't say that I like the sanctioning bodies. I think they're fucking corrupt as hell. But I like the history, the historical aspect of it. So I don't think you can do all this and just throw all that out the window right off the bat. I mean, I know we're talking all hypothetical stuff, but I think what you would have to do is, through this system that we're discussing, unify all the belts and then figure out what to do with the sanctioning bodies from there. Then with the, I also think, going back to the sanctioning bodies, that's the vulnerability in the sport to create change. Because, like, for instance, when the Ring magazine was established, and they started giving out their belts, that gave them, they built up enough momentum and credibility to where their belt meant something. So I think it is possible for something to come along and create a ranking system, like through hardcore boxing fans or whatever, with people voting, where you get a standardized ranking system. And then on top of that, I'm not so sure the IBO is the youngest, because I think they've been around since the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong about that. I'm just going off memory. I think the IBO came out in the 70s, and we know the IBF and the WBO came out in the 80s. So they have been around for a while, and I do like the idea of what they're doing with the computerized rankings, but then somehow they end up with champions that don't make sense. So there's a hitch there. There's some kind of hitch in their system that would need to be worked out, because like in the welterweight division, they got some guy as their champion, but they've got the other guys ranked in a pretty good order. It's not too bad, but then their champion doesn't make sense. But and then aside from all that, I think that you got to ensure the fighters going into these fights, so that you don't end up with like a Magomed Abdulhamov kind of situation, where you're asking for donations and shit for fighters that get injured or go into comas and stuff like that. Like, to me, what should have happened there was, whenever two guys step in the HBO should have to ensure those two guys, as far as like if someone gets killed or gets seriously injured, like they're taken care of through the insurance that you buy before the bout. There, I'll pass it off to Rilo Jenkins.
Alright. Shit, man. You know, we didn't cover the whole hell of a lot. We've covered a whole hell of a lot, man.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
My question is, let's say a fighter won a big event, right? Won the pay-per-views.
Let's open it up to everybody.
Okay, yeah, this is for everybody. Let's say this fighter won the biggest fight of the night, right? And he won the title and stuff. He's known as the champion, but 4 or 5 weeks later, it's revealed that he failed a drug test or something like that. Should there be an elimination tournament going into, the cable network, television and stuff like that?
I like where you going with that. I'm gonna tell you what, because it's really two questions. It's really like what happens if a guy fails a drug test, and then it's also what happens if somebody not failed a drug test, but a title becomes vacant. Pretty much. With the drug test, there should be a zero tolerance on drugs and performance enhancement. There should be a zero tolerance on performance enhancement drugs. Period. And everybody, when in the camp. Okay, I ain't gonna even get as strict as it should be. First of all, I could say random, but since you're a professional boxer, we're gonna cut you some slack and say up to 3 months or 2 months up until your fight, then you're subject to random blood and urine tests. If you take a fight and you're on that event, you either need to decline or you need to, you know what I'm saying, you need to be ready, because they're gonna discover the Olympic style drug test and you're gonna get caught anyway. So, to me, 3 months out, 2 months out, at the beginning of your training camp, they should have you being tested. That way we ain't got to worry about that from the beginning.
Hey, y'all. Hey, fellas, I just had Dre on the other line.
Yeah, he
wasn't trying to get in, though.
Yeah, he called me too.
But that question goes for all y'all. Like,
Okay.
what should happen if the guy who was the man of the night loses his title because of a failed drug test? Should there be an elimination tournament going on in these cable networks channels to build up another big fight for the next pay-per-view?
I think there should be a standardized penalty if you fail a drug test. Like, for instance, if you fail a drug test...
High blow. I don't mean to cut you off, but high blow. When you get done, pass the rock again. Go ahead.
No, it's open. It's open.
No, it's cool to be open, but I'm just saying when he get done, he can pass the rock again because we don't want to fuck up the whole. The pass the rock.
What y'all talking about, man? I just got back on.
You'll catch up. You'll catch up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead. High blow.
There should be a standardized punishment if someone fails a drug test. I think the drug test, like, for instance, you got to take a year off or something like that. Number two, I think, like Zone 6 said, I think there should be a standardized procedure as far as testing goes. And that's why one of the things I don't like and what I see what's happening in boxing right now is the fighting between the testing organizations. It's like becoming another sanctioning body thing again. Like, now we've got, not only do we have the sanctioning bodies, but we've got these WADA, USADA, and VADA fighting over testing and procedures and stuff. So you've got to have the commission, whatever the commission would be. I guess it would be a global commission to set the rules for the testing. I also think that like testosterone ratios should be a stat that where the public knows exactly what your testosterone ratio was going into a fight. Because the way they're set up right now, like, if you don't trigger that line, like, if you only have like a 1-to-1 is the real ratio that most, the average ratio of testosterone to epitestosterone. But, if you don't have like a 3-to-1 ratio or whatever that line is, then it doesn't count as you got caught. So I think they should post up, because if someone has a 2-to-1 ratio, that's like beyond natural right there. But the way things are right now, even with VADA and USADA and stuff like that, you can have a 2-to-1 and still get by. So there needs to be a standardized, and it needs. So if somebody gets caught, and they lose their title, I think that the number 1 and number 2 contenders should have to face off to get the vacant title. So that's my answer. Passing it. To who? To whoever. Do I need to pick? Rilo.
Alright. I'm gonna pass it to Boxing Talk. Boxing Talk, go ahead. I'm gonna pass it to Zone 6.
And I'm gonna let boxologist go first.
I'm gonna pass it to boxologist.
Okay, I'm boxologist too.
Hey, fellas, man. I think I think as long as you got a fight schedule, you know what I'm saying, you should like no matter what, man. I mean, you should treat it just like a real job, man. When you schedule that fight, man, you on duty. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And because you on duty, you should have Olympic style drug testing, man. You don't know when they coming. They coming when they coming. The very next day, they still after they take your blood. The very next, or after they do whatever samples they take, the very next day they should test them. You know what I'm saying? Throughout your whole camp, when they randomize come, they should come. As long as you contract to fight somebody and you in training, they should do random style on you. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if it's a title fight. I don't care if it's a minor fight or whatever. They should be tested. They should be coming to see you. You don't know when they're coming. You know what I mean? And then like if you fail, like you know what I'm saying, you pretty much give your purse up to the person that lost and there's no fight. You know what I mean? For real. You should give your purse. You should. I wouldn't even say give up your purse, but you should be penalized for percentage wise. We find a percentage wise of whatever your purse is to the other person. That way they didn't waste their time training and stuff because you cheat. You know what I mean? And then the fight would just be off. And every time somebody schedules a fight, they just know it's automatic. You know what I mean? Just like any other job. You know what I mean? You working, you might get random picked. You know what I mean? And they coming when they coming because, and I don't want to hear nothing about, scared of needles and stuff. You in the hurt business. How you scared of needles and you ain't scared of punches? You know what I mean? You getting beat up. You know what I mean? Because you gonna die in the ring before you die from getting poked by a needle. So I just think that, you know what I mean, that's the way they should do it. I think that should be that's fair. I think that would discriminate a lot of guys from cheating too. You know what I mean? So I think that would be like the first step into making something like that happen. Who ain't winning a minute?
Okay, Robin.
We all went on that one. Right, we'll change the topic. Yeah.
All right, I got another question for y'all. This is a good question.